The hiring of Joe Brady as the Buffalo Bills' next head coach was a lot better than a lot of people are realizing. I'm going to give you guys all of the reasons why, but before I do that, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to this channel so you never miss another Buffalo Bills update. Let's get right into this video. Earlier this morning at around 11:30 p.m., Adam Schefter tweeted this out. The Bills are working to finalize a deal to make offensive coordinator Joe Brady their new head coach. Now, immediately upon hearing that, I think I and all Bills fans were kind of outraged at the fact that the Bills went in-house to fix their coaching problems when he was already a coach on the staff that was a part of the issues. Now, I was absolutely livid at first. I saw there's no light at the end of the tunnel, but after being able to kind of gather myself over the last couple of hours because I had a class, I couldn't make a video immediately. I have come around on this hiring, and I think that this could be a very good hire for the Buffalo Bills. Now, first things first, we're just going to talk about the problems that could arise with Joe Brady. So we have Josh Allen, and as you guys know, he is 30 years old this May. So his prime, we only have for about 3 to maybe 5 years left. But now I'm just going to get into what is the exact situation with Joe Brady. So Josh Allen, as we know, our franchise QB, love him. He only has 3 to 5 more years left of his prime. He is turning 30 years old this May. As you know, once you get to 30, when you get to the other side, some QBs either prosper or they kind of flop. So Josh Allen realistically only probably has about 5 years left of that true prime of that dual threat QB that we know and love. And those years are going to be spent at minimum with Joe Brady. Now, another issue that Bills fans kind of have, and that I had at first when we first made this hire, was the fact that wide receivers seem to just get worse with Joe Brady when they're in his offensive scheme. And it kind of reminds me of defensive linemen in the Sean McDermott scheme on defense. Because as you guys know, two guys that really stick out to me are guys like Poona Ford and Tim Settle, who did not see the field at all with the Buffalo Bills. But when they moved on, Poona Ford to the Rams, but first the Chargers, I believe, and Tim Settle now with the Texans, they both have been thriving in their new schemes. That kind of makes you have the same thought process with wide receivers when it comes to the Joe Brady offense. But with Joe Brady, running backs have absolutely prospered since he's taken over. James Cook is the best running back in the NFL now. He led the league in rushing yards last season. And Ty Johnson and Ray Davis have both looked very solid behind him. Whereas on the defensive side for Sean McDermott, his group that did pretty well was always the safeties. They had Jordan Poyer, Micah Hyde there for a long time. Guys like Taylor Rapp, who really wasn't that great, but then he developed Cole Bishop into being probably one of the best players on this team on the defense. Just all those guys who were rotating in and out since the departures of Jordan Poyer, Micah Hyde, they've been solid for the Bills at a very minimum. But Sean McDermott's gone now. We got to focus on Joe Brady. Now, one argument that Bills fans are making is just get Joe Brady a wide receiver one, and he will cook. And honestly, I agree, but there is skepticism. I understand, and I will tell you guys exactly why. When Joe Brady took over in 2023, I believe it was, after the loss to the Denver Broncos, kind of ironic that after a loss to the Broncos in 2023, he took over for the fired Ken Dorsey, and now after a loss to the Denver Broncos in the AFC divisional round, he's taking over for the fired Sean McDermott, which is just kind of crazy how the Broncos have just helped to elevate Joe Brady's career. But after he took over for Ken Dorsey as offensive coordinator, Stephon Diggs quietly had probably the worst run of his career. In 8 games, he only had around 350 yards, which was really bad compared to what he had been doing earlier that season. And what you see he's been doing after. With the Houston Texans, when he was healthy last year, he was phenomenal until he tore his ACL. And this year, in his first year back from his torn ACL with the Patriots, he had over 1,000 yards and 4 touchdowns, and he's now in the Super Bowl with the Patriots, which is a whole other topic I'm not getting into. Meanwhile, guys like Gabe Davis, who have come back to the Bills after Joe Brady has taken over, guys like Curtis Samuel, they've all done worse with the Buffalo Bills, which is kind of discouraging, but I think that there's a work around it. And last but not least, when it comes to just the hiring of Joe Brady and what the real metrics of it is. So Dan Mitchell tweeted this out before. History of NFL teams promoting coordinators to become to be their head coach. And this is the list. Freddie Kitchens with the Browns, 1 year, 6-10. Gerard Mayo with the Patriots, 1 year, 4-13. Antonio Pierce, Raiders, 1 year, 4-13. Brian Schottenheimer, 1 year, 7-9-1 with the Cowboys. That was just this last season. Ben McAdoo, 1.5 seasons, 13-15. Mike Mularkey with the Titans, 2 years, 18-14. Dennis Allen, 2.5 years, 18-25. Dirk Koetter with the Bucks, 3 years, 19-29. Doug Marrone with the Jaguars, 4 years, 22-42. And Frank Reich with the Colts, 6 years, 41-43-1. So overall, over the course of history, offense or coordinators who get promoted internally to become the head coach have not been great. There's literally not been one guy with a winning record, I believe, except for Mike Mularkey with the Titans. And Brian Schottenheimer, I guess, could be the second best already next year if he has a winning record with the Cowboys, but that's probably not going to happen. So coordinators being promoted to the head coach position does not work out very often, so Joe Brady will have to be an anomaly for this to work out. But we also have to keep in mind that Joe Brady was considered for a ton of head coaching positions in other places, and he has been considered for multiple years for those head coaching positions. So it's not like Joe Brady is a random guy, off the street, a guy who we really hated, because, the fact of the matter is he did lead the Bills to the 6th best offense in the NFL, which had a bad passing game. But he has been a head or a hot coaching candidate for a lot of teams. So it's not like he's one of those guys on that list where, like, what are we doing? It's kind of just like this hire just feels deflating because of the fact that it is an in-house guy. And Bills fans wanted a change, within the organization. And now the question becomes, will this Joe Brady offense be different in 2026 and beyond? Because he is now the man in charge. He is leading this team. And there's some theories out there that Sean McDermott was maybe neutralizing the Joe Brady offense, or maybe making him call plays in a way that kind of fit Sean McDermott's vision for this team. But now in 2026, we will get a clear picture of how Joe Brady likes to run the offense. Was last year what he liked to do, or will he make some more changes in 2026 and beyond now that there's no one telling him what he has to do or how he has to run this offense? We don't know. We will see. Only time will tell. But now I want to go over some metrics for this Joe Brady offense in 2025, just to really kind of ease, the stress and anxiety from Bills fans of why do we hire Joe Brady. This is something he does well. He is a good offensive play caller. That just is what it is. When we sort by the offensive rank on PFF, the Buffalo Bills are ranked 3rd in the NFL in just total offense over the course of last season. When it comes to the running game, the Bills were 2nd, only behind the Seattle Seahawks, who were in the Super Bowl. But then we're going to go over the defensive metrics. And this is where, I'm not mad that Joe Brady took over. And now I'm not going to skip over the receiving. I wasn't going to. I just kind of forgot. When it comes to the receiving metrics, the Bills dropped down to 13th. So as bad as the passing game was, it was still 13th best in the NFL, which is kind of middle of the pack. But the fact of the matter is, it wasn't the worst. So maybe getting him a wide receiver 1 will help elevate this offense. Not maybe, it will. I know that I cited that Stephon Diggs kind of had a bad second half of the year with Joe Brady as his offensive coordinator. But I think that Joe Brady could, now that he's evolved even more as a play caller, maybe better implement a wide receiver 1 into this offense. And if we do, I think, even shooting up from 13th best, maybe to like 8th best, which is not a huge jump over some of these teams, this Bills offense will be even better than it was last year. And it was already the 6th best offense in the NFL and the best running game in the NFL. So there's a lot of stuff to like. But now when we sort by defense, we have to keep in mind that Sean McDermott, who was formerly our head coach, was a defensive mind head coach. That's what we had as the guy leading our team. But when you search by defense, the Buffalo Bills ranked 21st in total defense. Not just that, when you search by rushing defense, the Buffalo Bills were 27th in the NFL with a 51 PFF grade. When you go to tackling, I gotta reverse sort this. The Bills were the 2nd worst in the NFL in tackling last year. And when it comes to pass rush, the Bills were 9th, which I guess isn't horrible, considering how bad their run or their pass rush kind of felt during the season. But even then, we still have to add a guy at pass rush just to make it seem not as horrible. And then when you sort by coverage, you see the Buffalo Bills all the way down there at 20th. So we had a defensive-minded head coach. He did not do his side of the ball well. But now we'll have Joe Brady, who's an offensive mastermind and has had a good offense for this Buffalo Bills team. So now there's going to be a change. And what we need to do is make a change on the defensive side of the ball. A defensive coordinator as the next step and plan of action for the Buffalo Bills now that Joe Brady is the head coach. And Bills fans, I have good news for you. Adam Schefter tweeted out just a little while ago, sources, Broncos defensive pass game coordinator Jim Leonard is expected to be a leading candidate to become the next defensive coordinator for the Buffalo Bills. Now, why is this so great? Jim Leonard, the defensive pass game coordinator and an assistant head coach for the Denver Broncos. So he has that assistant head coach, experience, which you want to see when you have a first-time head coach in Joe Brady. He's also a fantastic defensive player or play caller. You'll see last year the Broncos had the 6th best defense in the NFL and only allowed 311 points, which was 3rd best in the NFL under the help of Jim Leonard. And Jim Leonard, if you guys weren't aware, he was a UDFA in 2005. The Buffalo Bills signed him to their active roster, played with the Bills for 3 seasons. So bringing Jim Leonard into Buffalo would not only be bringing in a great defensive coach, but a guy who used to be on his Bills team during the drought. Having him be there for the start of the new stadium and could try to help this team win a Super Bowl, that would be pretty cool. Now, the second option for me for the Buffalo Bills to be our new defensive coordinator, because Bobby Babich is basically all but confirmed as out as our defensive coordinator, is going to be Jim Schwartz of the Cleveland Browns. He's our defensive coordinator right now, and currently he is leading. He is in the lead for odds to become the Browns' next head coach. So obviously, if he gets that job, he will not be coming to the Bills to be our defensive coordinator. But last year, he led the Browns to having the second best defense in the NFL. However, he did allow 379 points, which is 14th best in the NFL. But still, that's better than this Buffalo Bills team. Go to Buffalo Bills, points allowed. They allowed 365. So actually, I guess the Bills defense allowed less points than the Cleveland Browns. But overall, with everything factoring in tackling, coverage, pass rush, run defense, the Browns are much better than the Bills, basically everywhere, I guess for maybe coverage. But bringing in a guy like Jim Leonard would really help this Bills defense become great. And if the Bills already have a top 6 offense in the NFL, which could get even better if they make an addition at wide receiver, and a defense that has some tools there, but is going to bring in a guy in Jim Leonard who could potentially elevate this defense to being, at the very least, top 10, who's to say this Bills team can't win the Super Bowl next season with Joe Brady as the head coach? Tell me I'm not crazy. But last but not least, this is a Josh Allen hire, which you would either love or you could hate. He was the one who hired Ken Dorsey as well, so maybe he doesn't have the best track record. But this is a guy that Josh Allen clearly wanted, and the fact that I even thought for a second that we would get anyone else, it's kind of foolish of me. Josh Allen and Joe Brady have a great relationship, so Joe Brady being our head coach doesn't surprise me at all. And Bills fans, hopefully I was able to ease your pain in this hiring of Joe Brady. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Do you like this hiring of Joe Brady as our head coach? Now, was I able to change your mind? Let me know that in the comment section as well. But Bills fans, Joe Brady's the next Buffalo Bills head coach. Let me know your thoughts. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.